So, who had on their MCU bingo card a cast member from Stranger Things joining the MCU and it not being, I forget the actress's name, is the gal that plays 11? No one? All right. This is Are We Not Entertained? Part of the Closing Tag Network. And yes, I'm actually talking about something on this podcast that's not professional wrestling. Yay! Now, the blog that I'm working on may actually be out now, but basically there's going to be a blog post sometime this week that's going to explain why that's going to be an important distinction going forward. Yeah, there will be no more pro wrestling talk on this podcast, on this particular podcast. I'm working on something that might correct some things, basically. It's a slow process, but we'll get into that later. Anyway, so since this is an entertainment podcast and no longer a sports entertainment podcast, let's talk entertainment for a minute. And in particular, let's talk about the MCU. So there is some huge casting news going down in old Marvel Town. We already talked about Pedro Pascal playing Reed Richards in the upcoming Fantastic Four movie. What we didn't know is who's going to play the other three members of the Fantastic Four. That is why they call it the Fantastic Four. It is a team of four that basically saves the world. Now we know who the other three are. So obviously Pedro Pascal, you might know him from The Mandalorian and The Last of Us, among other things, will be playing Reed Richards, who is the leader of the Fantastic Four. Vanessa Kirby, she will be playing Sue Richards. Well, Sue Storm and then Sue Richards. At least in the comic books, that's how it goes. How the MCU handles it, I'm not entirely sure. But, we'll let it play out. But Vanessa Kirby, you might know as, I think she was the princess in The Crown. I'm not 100% sure on that. Joseph Quinn. This is the Stranger Things tie-in that I was telling you about. Joseph Quinn, if you remember, in the latter seasons of Stranger Things, was Eddie Munson. He is going to be playing Johnny Storm, Sue's little brother, who figuratively and eventually very literally is a hothead. They call him the Human Torch for a reason. Now, if you remember the old Fantastic Four movie, the one that came out in like the early 2000s, that was the role that Chris Evans played. Flame on! That sort of thing. So who's playing the Thing? Who's playing the big muscular thing? Well, I'm glad you asked. The actor's name is Ibn Moss Bachrach. And he, according to IMDb, because that's where I get all of my 6 degrees of Kevin Bacon hints from, I know him as Arvel Skeen from Andor, the Star Trek or Star Wars series, Andor. But he's also been in things like Interrogation, No Hard Feelings. He was the tow truck driver at the beginning of the movie No Hard Feelings. He was in Lying and Stealing, and he played David Lieberman in the Netflix Marvel series The Punisher. And he was John Quincy Adams in the TV miniseries John Adams. So that's going to be an interesting dichotomy. Usually when you think about, someone like the Thing or the Hulk, you think of a big, muscular, heavyset guy. But as they've proven with, what's his name? The guy that plays the Hulk now. Even Edward Norton, as they've shown with Edward Norton and with the guy that plays the Hulk now, they're not opposed to taking scrawnier, smaller guys and beefing them up. The wonders of CGI. So it'll be interesting to see how they handle Ibn Masbakrak and him turning into the Thing. So that's going to be a very interesting dichotomy. The biggest news, potentially, doesn't even have anything to do with the casting of the Fantastic Four. The biggest news in the MCU right now, as of today, February 19th, 2024, has nothing to do with Fantastic Four that we know of. Has nothing to do with Deadpool versus Wolverine that we know of. Has to do with one Henry Cavill. Yes, that Henry Cavill. Superman, Geralt of Rivia. That Henry Cavill is coming to the MCU, and I, for one, am here to say, shut the fuck up and take my money. Now, they haven't really said who Henry Cavill will be playing, but there are rumors. There are numerous rumors going around, one of which he's already shot down, about who he could potentially be playing. We can already rule out Doctor Doom. He has outright said he will not be playing Doctor Doom. But that doesn't mean he's not going to play Silver Surfer or any of the X-Men. He could potentially be taking Hugh Jackman's place as Wolverine. That's why I said that we know of yet on Deadpool and Wolverine. He could potentially become Cyclops. He could potentially be Sentry. He could potentially be Captain Britain. He's got the accent. I mean, for all we know, they could just give him a skull cap and have him sit in the wheelchair. Fastbender be damned. Just give the Professor Xavier role to him. I mean, there's only so many times that you can roll Patrick Stewart out of his home to do these sort of things. He's not getting any younger. So, could he be part of the X-Men project coming up? Could he be part of Deadpool and Wolverine? Could he be part of the Fantastic Four? Right now, we don't know. All we know is he's coming. That came out wrong. Or did it? But yeah, this is very exciting news, and like I said, I'm here for it. Now, I am still going to hammer this point home because I think that there's going to be a lot of roles that are going to be filled that are going to need to be filled. I mean, think the Eternals, but on a much grander scale. Because the Eternals only had one or two major villains. The Marvels only had one or two major villains. With the X-Men, if you recall, and by the way, Disney is releasing X-Men 97. That was confirmed about a week ago. Basically, what it is it's an animated series that picks up right where the old X-Men cartoon left off. Again, shut up and take my money. Granted, I didn't have any in my pocket at that time. And nor do I have any in my right now. But still, shut up and take my money. Now, could he be part of any of those projects? I don't know. I would hate to think that Marvel is going to hire Henry Cavill only to be a voice actor. Kind of like how they have Bradley Cooper only being a voice actor for Rocket Raccoon. Or how they have Taika Waititi as the voice actor for Korg. By the way, he's pretty excellent in that role. But I would like to think that they're making a big fuss about landing Henry Cavill, Mr. Geralt of Rivia, if they have him playing something pretty big. Now, I don't think he's going to be Jonathan Majors' replacement as King. I mean, aside from the fact that he doesn't even have the right skin color, I just think that he doesn't want that responsibility. He doesn't want to have that much weight on his shoulders. So that's why they're thinking maybe he's playing Doctor Doom, which he's already shot down. There is a couple of other potential big bads that he could potentially play. He could potentially play Galactus. Again, would hate to see him reduced to a voice actor role, but if there's ever going to be one that he could knock out of the park, it would be Galactus. But I'm looking at his image right now from the world premiere of Argyle, and I gotta tell you, I can see a little bit of Magneto in him. Just a little bit. Magneto, of course, was the main villain for the X-Men. I would not mind him in that role, honestly. He's definitely got the structure for a Cyclops or a New Age Wolverine or what's another one from the X-Men? I could easily see him portraying as Gambit. Now, he'd have to nail the French Louisiana accent, mon chéri. He'd have to nail that down to a T, but if anybody could pull it off, it'd be him. So there's a lot that could potentially come to play. Now, I'm going to hammer home 2 or 3 other casting suggestions. I'm going to continue to hammer these home because I think you add these 3 characters or you add these 3 actors to really any project, and it's going to be an automatic win. And you can go ahead, hit me up in my mentions, hit me up in my email, raul@theclosingtag.com, and you can tell me whether I'm right or wrong about any of these guys, but hear me out. Mads Mikkelsen. Now, you might know him from Rogue One. He was Jyn Erso's father at the beginning there. He was the one that put together the Death Star, including the lovely little exhaust port weakness. He was also in the first Daniel Craig James Bond movie, Casino Royale. He was the big bad, but then turned out to not so be big bad. Le Chiffre, I think was his name. I can't remember. The guy that, cried blood. I think he could be an excellent Doctor Doom. And there's actually rumors that he's being brought in to be Doctor Doom. Another guy that I would have loved to have seen, portray either Johnny Storm or, even one of the lesser known X-Men, or even one of the, lesser villains, maybe even Mystique. I don't know. Rami Malek. Now, if you don't know who that is, educate yourself. Freddie Mercury from Bohemian Rhapsody. But he's not just the guy from Bohemian Rhapsody. He's also been in a Daniel Craig James Bond movie as a villain. And he was also the lead actor in Mr. Robot. I think he would be an excellent addition to the MCU, regardless of where they plug him in. One other person that I think would be excellent, and I could actually see her as an excellent rogue in the X-Men. Jodie Comer. I was trying to remember her name for a minute there. Again, if you don't know who that is, educate yourself. She was the lead actress in the TV series Killing Eve. I think that would be an excellent addition to the MCU. Like I said, I think she would play an excellent rogue. I think she would play an excellent Jean Grey. She could even play a somewhat halfway decent Storm. Although they would really have to CGI it up a little bit. Now, I could probably go on for easily an hour on my suggestions on where they should plug Henry Cavill in. I still think Wolverine's a good, safe bet. But again, I'm looking at his image and I just see Magneto. I can't stop seeing Magneto in him. And he is the biggest comic book nerd of any actor alive right now. I mean, he's the reason why Amazon is taking on a Warhammer 40,000 project that's headed by him. It's because he's that big of a nerd. And I say that with the utmost respect for him. If he wasn't that passionate about his fandom and about his craft, we would never have gotten The Witcher. We would have never gotten Superman, although, Batman v Superman was a complete disaster. But we would never gotten him as Superman in Justice League. We would never gotten him in Man of Steel if he wasn't passionate about this. If there's any one person that I can see that can bring passion and dedication to his craft, to the MCU, but also call Kevin Feige out on some of his shit and be like, look, dude, you're fucking up. Here's what you need to do. Go fix it. And Kevin Feige would probably have enough self-respect, enough respect for him to be like, yeah, you're right. I should fix this. I did fuck up. Let's go fix it. Because right now, I think that's what the MCU needs more than anything else, is someone to put Kevin Feige in check. Or whoever's going to be in charge of the movie department. Because there's all sorts of rumors going on right now about the movie department for the MCU and the TV department for the MCU and who's doing what and what's going on, and is Kevin Feige in control of any of it anymore? You know, right now there's a lot of upheaval at Marvel. But I think if there's any one person from an actor's standpoint that can bring levity and that can bring passion and that can bring, knowledge to the MCU that is sorely needed, it's Henry Cavill. I can't stop seeing Magneto. Why can't I stop seeing Magneto? Anyway, enough of me man gushing over Henry Cavill. I mean, let's be honest. I'm a straight man. But if I were to bat for the other team, I'm telling you, man. I'm telling you. I could do worse. Anyway, enough of that. This podcast just got weird real fast. If you would love to leave a review, I would love to receive reviews on Spotify. If you're watching this on Facebook, like, share, and comment. If you're watching this on YouTube, like the video. Wow. Like the video, comment, subscribe to the channel, hit the bell for notifications. That way, a new video, hopefully one that's more on the tracks than this one, is dropped, you will be notified. And I want to thank everyone for liking, for listening, for watching, for donating, for doing everything in your power to help support the podcast. Your efforts are not going unnoticed, so thank you. And I am going to go heat up food because I'm hungry. Anyway, like I said, I'm going to leave a link to the blog in the comment or in the description for you guys to go check out the blog, explain why I am no longer going to be doing wrestling takes on this particular podcast. I would encourage you to read that if you're at all interested in any future wrestling commentary on this podcast or any podcast on the Closing Tag Network. But in the meantime, take care and remember to include your closing tags. Thank you.